Rocket ships, power plants, and Formula One cars. What do they all have in common? Controls engineering played an important part in all of their creations. Control engineers help design and maintain these creations and so much more. One of the many ways they do that is through ladder logic. History check! Ladder logic was invented in the late 1960s when engineers built the first PLC to replace physical relays. Their goal was to create a programming language that the existing electricians could understand without any retraining. So they designed it to look exactly like the relay wiring diagrams that they were already using. Today, ladder logic is defined by this standard here. But enough of the history. Let's get into some examples. I'm working through problems that you can find for yourself on rungs.dev. This isn't sponsored, but this website is completely free. It's all in browser, and I'd highly recommend while I go through these next 3 problems that you try to do them at the same time.
This is the first problem on rungs.dev, how to understand some ladder logic. So what you'll see when you go to the website is this, and you can browse exercises or just scroll to the bottom, and there's a bunch of featured, and it even has a ranking system of if you think it's going to be easy or medium, and you can see all of the 104 for more. We're going to go straight into this lamp follow. It's going to help us understand the basics of rungs.dev, as well as just understand what the different terminology is for an input and an output. You can also do it in structured text, but of course, this is a ladder diagram video, so we're going to go straight into that. As soon as we get in, we'll notice a couple of things with the interface. The first thing on this left side here, not only will you have a description of basically what it wants you to learn, which in this case, we're going to turn on a lamp while a push button is pressed and off when it is released. And it will also say, hey, here's what you're going to learn. Here are the inputs we want you to use and the outputs we want you to use, which is really cool. It tells you exactly what it wants you to name it. You can even see them over here. Also, I usually despise when companies do this, but it has a built-in AI assistant. It's called Relay. It's actually really useful. I would not use it to just figure out the answer because I'm sure it can do that. But what it's really good with is obviously some of the points, some of the naming conventions are a little bit different than some other PLC softwares out there. So what's really good is rather than just Google something, you can pop in here and say, hey, I don't understand why this input isn't working. I thought it did this, this, and that. Why is it not working? And this will actually give a really good description and give you some hints on what you should do moving forward to get your code working. But let's get into how to do this lamp follow exercise. Now, the first thing to note is we have an input that we want to have and an output. And basically, this is going to take the place of a button that you would literally physically press, and then that would turn the lamp on and off, similar to the one that's in your living room, probably right behind you. And there's a lot of different functions, as we can see here in the top, but we're going to be staying on this bit tab, and we're going to be using these exam if closed and exam if open. Right now we have our first decision. Which one do we pick? You can see if it's closed, it automatically goes through. This green is basically, think about powering in your PLC, and this input is what's stopping it to go to the output. These are the different outputs that we have. We're not going to mess with latching or unlatching today. That'll be for a future video, but we're just having the output energize function. Now, if it's closed, it will automatically go through and it will power on our lamp. This is good, but this isn't what we really want because what's happening is this lamp is being powered on constantly. The only way to shut that off would be to break the connection. Basically, we would press the button to turn it off. It's good in some situations, but it's not what we need now. Versus this examine if closed, it will only turn on if this button is flicked and then it was closed so that it will turn on this lamp. And that's basically what we want for this test right here, because we only want to turn on a lamp when the push button is pressed and off when it is released. So once again, if I start right now, the lamp is not powered on. When I push the input button, basically when I pull the string on the lamp or I turn it on, then all of a sudden it's saying, hey, we're good. Put some power through here. Input's going to the output, and that is flashing on. What's also really cool is you can see on the trend line, you can see that the input is this blue line. And as soon as it gets toggled on, the output gets toggled on. And you can see it in real time. What happens when you power it on and when you power it off. And it's a really cool way of just visualizing if something is working. Obviously, for this example, it's pretty easy to see. But when things get more complicated, it's really nice to see your trend line to see where things are possibly going wrong. Now, going back to the logic, the last thing we want to do just to make sure 100% that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve is hit this little test button right here. And this will just run tests to basically make sure that we are meeting this criteria right here. 3 passed, 0 failed. We have completed the mission. You can also see exactly the code that it's using to test it, but we can't cheat. We can't edit anything, which I really love. But it's a pretty fun way of just testing some inputs and outputs. That's the first example, lamp follow. Let's get into the second. Problem 2, a 2-button lamp. So we're taking it up just a little bit. Basically, we want to turn on a lamp only when both push buttons are pressed at once. Now, it's really cool. It shows what it teaches, and what is very key is this 2-hand safety interlock system. This seems like a very simple concept, but it is used all over the place. When you want to have double safety checks, a output can only be toggled when a input and another input are selected is key, and you will see it all over in industry. What are the inputs that it's calling out? What are the outputs? So we know what to name it. Now, I don't think we have to do anything special. We don't have to make multiple rungs or anything like that. But we're going to start out with something that I know the output. We know for sure we're toggling this lamp on and off. And the required behavior that we have is it's active when both button 1 and button 2 are active. It is inactive when either button 1 or button 2 is inactive. Okay. So at first when I read this, I thought it was going to be something like this, where you would have an input and you have another input. And if this one or this one is toggled, it will power on. But that's not the case. This is a safety system. So in that case, we're going to call these the different inputs in button 1 and in button 2. And what this will mean when we power the system on is if button 1 is toggled, it will only go as far as to the input button 2. And then when input button 2 is toggled over here, then it will go all the way through and power on that output. As you can see by that 1 in the corner, or if we go to the trend line, we can see that there. And we can also see if we toggle off button 1, our output, the lamp, will toggle off. We power it on, it's back. We toggle off the in button 2, it should also follow the same thing. So if any one of them is toggled off, the output is also toggled off. Easy test. This should be correct. Let's test it out. And yes, we did get a summary of 3 passed and 0 failed. So this is just a little bit of a step ahead, but it is crucial to understand the 2-hand safety interlock, because this is something that, as it says right here, industrial presses use the exact same logic. It's very key, sounds simple, but it will gear up very quickly. Now it's time to do practice problem number 3, which is the either button lamp. Basically, what we want to do is we want to turn on a lamp when either push button is pressed. So we're going to have 2 push buttons, as we can see, defined by these 2 tags. If we toggle 1 or 2, it's going to have an output of the lamp. So I already kind of know where I want to go with this. But let's open it up in the ladder diagram and get it started. This one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to use a different function here at the top, or I guess not a function, but just a different kind of branch, because I know the one thing for a fact is we want to have an output that is this out lamp again. So we want to get that toggled already to match that output here, the same as there. And now the thing that we want to do differently, we have this examine if closed. Previously, what we did was we had the in button, and when this worked, you can see right now it's going underneath, but when it worked and you toggle the in button on, it would go all the way through. Now what's happening is because I have this kind of different part of the ladder right here, the electricity is basically able to flow down and just completely bypass this button. So what we need to do is put another in button here that would block it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have a second in button, and that's going to be the number 2 right here that matches this input, so that if any one of them is flicked on, it will go all the way through. And just to confirm before we test it, let's triple check here. And we want to turn on a lamp when either push button is pressed and off when both are released. So I believe this is exactly the case. If we have one input and that one's good, the electricity is going to flow. And if we also have this input, it's also going to flow. I want to look at this the same way as water going through a pipe. This is, imagine water is just going from the higher elevation to the lower elevation. It automatically flows that way. But what we have is we have two blockades. And we are literally just saying, hey, this pipe is now closed. You cannot go through there. This pipe is now closed. And then once we toggle this on, then the pathway is good. The water will flow. And water will always flow, just like electricity will always flow on the path of least resistance. So as long as we have one of these available, it will go all the way through. So just to double check, let's start this. As you can see, the green stops right here because it won't go. And then if we toggle one on, you can still see 2 is blocked because it's not active, but it goes to hit that output. And the same thing if we do 2, it just goes up the different rung. They're both off, and obviously when they're both on, it will work as well. So let's stop that. Let's test it just to triple check. And we got a 3 passed and 0 failed. So that is a successful test yet again. 3 quick examples on how we can use the different functions, the in button right here, in order to get the output of the lamp. This is extremely important because, like it says here, a doorbell wired to multiple buttons has the exact same thing. You just want either one of them to be able to turn on that light. There's a lot of different ways that you could do this, and these are some really cool examples when you're testing and doing that learn feature for rungs.dev.
There is still so much to learn until I consider myself a true engineer. I have a lot more content that's going to be coming to this YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. Hands-on building live streams, quick educational videos, and just a whole bunch more content. So check out what I've done so far. My whole goal is while I go through my engineering career, you will be right there with me. Most importantly, remember, you've got this. Anyone can be an engineer. You just need to take it one day at a time.